Our next item on the agenda is item 6D, and it's a resolution to affirm the city's path to develop homeless shelter. Our first presenter will be Katie Ketterer.
And actually, I'd like to give us, I'm not calling for a break, but Katie, if you could give us just another minute or two before you start your presentation. I know there's folks that have been here. Okay, and at this time, I'd like to recognize Ms. Ketterer.
Thank you. Good evening, Council.
Oh, for just a moment. Friends, if you could join out together in the lobby, that would be great. And then to say your goodbyes there. Thank you so much for your help with that.
Good evening, Council, and thank you. I am Katie Ketterer, and I am here to present the administration's recommendation for moving forward with a shelter at the Oyster Bay site. You can go ahead and go past to the third slide. I'm going to skip forward just a bit. So the administration's recommendation is to build a congregate shelter with a capacity for up to 100 people. It would be a low barrier facility that does not require coordinated entry. The goal is always to have beds available for anyone who is facing a housing crisis in Bremerton, so that no one should have to spend a night out on the streets. The shelter would operate as a 24/7 day and night shelter year-round with wraparound human services to connect folks to the care that they need. We envision this as part of a first step in the continuum of care with temporary stays for folks as they're stabilized and moved on to more transitional and permanent housing solutions. We believe that this provides a safety net for those who are waiting for those transitional and permanent housing solutions, or for those that are, somehow ineligible for housing solutions. The shelter site would operate as a closed campus with security and on-site outdoor areas for clients to be outside, and to help prevent loitering in the surrounding neighborhood. Next slide. So why are we recommending a sprung structure? It's a building that provides a cost-effective, time-effective building option for us to come to a solution to house people quickly. It has a very flexible interior space that can be designed to fit the community needs. And it can be, in some future, hopefully, when we don't need that space any longer, it could be repurposed for public works in the future. So some of the things that this development would provide is parking. Again, it's an enclosed campus, trauma-informed design, outdoor recreation area. Consider accommodating pets, families, office space for on-site services, phone and computer access, mail service, laundry, hygiene, and security and monitoring to ensure safety for all clients and the neighborhood. Next slide. These are just some preliminary layouts of what the site would look like. Next slide. These are some interior options that have been utilized by other communities in their designs of these types of sprung structures. As you can see, there are a lot of options that we can employ through this process. While we want to have the ability and option to house as many people as are needed to meet Bremerton's immediate needs, should we not need that much space, there are other ways that we can repurpose the interior of this space to provide more, more privacy for the folks who are there. Next slide. So we have a very clear understanding of our timeline and how we can deliver opening this shelter within the time frame that it is needed before Salvation Army closes its emergency shelter. We included also a timeline for the public outreach, shelter operations planning, and the SEPA and permitting documentation. Next slide. I want to point out again with the funding plan that we have, we do have a gap of $1.2 million, which our strategy to close that revenue gap would be to pursue some state grants. We also have $2 million from water funds that we are able to utilize because this is the Oyster Bay site. There's $1.1 million, and that's really the flexible funding that is available for a shelters project within the city. Next slide. With the operations, we acknowledge that we will need to develop an operations plan with all of our local experts, with people with lived experience of being in shelters and experiencing housing crisis, and with the surrounding community. The shelter design and the operations plan will need to inform one another, so they kind of go hand in hand. With that is, that will inform as well a cost estimate. So we don't have a cost estimate yet. That would need to come along as we understand the operations plan, and then we can also work on a funding strategy for the operations plan. But generally, we understand that we would need to contract out for the operations, while facility repair and general maintenance would be covered by city forces. And the Salvation Army has expressed interest in serving the community as an operator of a facility that is at Oyster Bay specifically designed to be a shelter, which is the problem that they have with their existing facility, is that it was not designed to be a shelter, and so they're bringing out mats every day. It's not a very it's not a good long-term situation for Salvation Army. Next slide. So our next steps, should the council opt to go with this option, is to continue with the site grading design and to proceed with the full design of the site and the permitting, pursue funding for the shelter to close our funding gap, pursue funding and planning for shelter operations, pursue a shelter design contract, and create and execute a public outreach plan. So that's it for my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Ketterer. That was exactly 7 minutes.
Get out, really?
Yeah, it was. Thank you very much. Do you call the next presenter, Ms. Hoover, or do I? I can call the next presenter, which is Councilor Coughlin, with our next resolution up on deck, which is, oh goodness, Councilor Coughlin, can you please give us the resolution number and And please introduce it for us.
Resolutions 3375, and
Thank
I'd
you.
like to defer to our community partners for their presentation, and then I'll sum up the resolution.
Well, at this time, I have suggested for you to be the presenter.
So I will sum up the resolution at the end, and they were going to go ahead and present the summary of their proposal.
Okay. I'll go ahead and defer to Councilor Coughlin, so I'm going to give you the same time limit combined of 7 minutes, okay? So we can be equal in all things.
Will the presentation be? Okay. Great. Hello, Council President Chamberlain and council members. My name is Monica Bernard. I am the Chief Executive Officer at Kitsap Mental Health Services, and I'm speaking on behalf of our partners today to offer yet another option for your consideration. We know that this is a very difficult decision, and I want to reiterate, as I said last week, that whatever decision is made, we're all committed to its success. Next slide. Our vision ultimately is to create an intentional pathway to permanent housing, one that incorporates elements of low barrier shelter as is being proposed by the city, but also incorporates transitional housing and permanent housing options. Next slide. I think the key to remember is that there's not one size that fits all. These words come from a resident of a shelter, and they point to the broad needs of people that are experiencing homelessness. Next slide. So we're here to present another model. Next slide. Our model is simple. One, we agree with the need for the congregate shelter. We would suggest much smaller, up to 50 beds. We are also proposing 40 pallet homes that would provide some dignified private transitional space for people who may not have another option for their housing. And all of this would be wrapped around with supportive services and taking advantage of the 250 vouchers that Bremerton Housing Authority has for permanent housing. Next slide. We believe that this is an important model for our community. It's not a forever option, but it does offer our community housing dignity. Next. And we see this, the housing dignity, I guess we just spoke to that. I'm going to go on it because I know time is limited. Next, please. So the costs of this, I know, are very important. So we'll lay them out at a high level for you. The overall capital costs that we anticipate are, for the 40 pallets, is $1.4 million. For the congregate shelter would be $1 million. So 2.4 for the capital side of this. And at the high end, we're estimating upwards of $3 million on annual operating costs, which are detailed out as follows. Next slide. So the staffing model, any type of operating model for this type of shelter, whether it's 100 beds or 50 beds, needs to have a robust staffing model, and we base this on the model that we're using right now at Pendleton Place. And the other items on the right-hand side detail out a number of the other annual operating costs. The two bottom lines there are really more one-time capital costs. Next. So what's important here is that our work is based on this housing continuum. No matter what your cause of getting into homelessness, we have to help you move up the continuum. Next. And through it all, we have to wrap around services, and that's where our community partners come in. That's where our strength is. Next. So very quickly, next slide, here's a map of the shelters across our community today. Next. And this is not an all-inclusive list of shelter beds, but I want to call out why this is especially important. If one of the things that this model has to do is to help move people through the system. If you have an individual that's occupying a bed for a year, you're going to serve one individual with that bed. If you have an individual that's occupying that bed for a month, you're going to serve 12 people a year with that bed. If you're moving people more quickly after a week, you could serve up to 50 people with that bed. So we expand the capacity of our community by having a much more intentional approach with respect to not just shelter, but migrating people into other housing options, including transitional housing. Next. Don't intend to say that we're speaking for everybody on this list, but our pride and joy is the community of providers that work together trying to address these issues. I'm going to skip over the next couple of slides. And just very quickly show you pictures of the pallet model. Our team did go out and take a look at this. Next. It's part of a community that would include community rooms, laundries, place for service providers as well. Next. It's being used all over this country. Next. Including 2 locations here in Washington where they've seen a significant reduction in police calls as well as cleanup costs. Next. Here's some pictures of the inside of one of the pallet homes. Next. So a pallet community is definitely a key part of our strategy. Next. How do we begin? It's a simultaneous process. We believe that we're going to have to pull the key people together to bring this task force in place. We cannot do this without the city. This is key that the city is part of this solution. We need to identify the appropriate sites for purchase or lease. We need to conduct the community impact analysis. We have to do the community outreach, and we definitely have to find all the funding. Next. The funding resources, I have to say there are no magic pots of money for things like this, as I know that you realize. There are
30 seconds.
I'm sorry, did I hit time?
30 seconds.
Okay, thank you. No magic. So we cannot do this without the support of the city and the county and even state dollars. Next. But what's really important, next slide, is that we work together on a community outreach plan. We look at feasibility. We have a security plan. We have outreach with our community businesses, community meetings. Next. We believe that if we do the site analysis over the next couple of months, there could be an RFP and we can open a shelter with the pallet houses on the same timing. Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Ms. Bernard. Thank you.
And so
And next up is Councilor Younger.
and so the resolution.
So I'm sorry, point of order.
sorry,
I called 7 minutes for each item, and we're
Point of
over
order,
7
Council
minutes.
President. I'd like to request just 30 extra seconds to read the resolution statement. It was not
Sure.
made clear that our community partners only had 7 minutes of that. Yeah.
And to rebuttal,
That's
I was
fine.
not made clear they'd be coming, and so this was not, I was expected Councilor Coughlin. So Councilor Younger, would you like to cede some time to Councilor
The City Council of
Coughlin?
the City of Bremerton affirms the city's commitment to supporting community partners in the development of a hybrid, low-barrier walk-up
So-
congregate and pallet shelter as
Can we
outlined
go
in
ahead
January 10th
and, point of
presentation.
order, can we cut his mic, please?
Okay, I'd like to appeal your decision and go to the council,
Okay.
please.
Sure, let's do it.
I appeal. Is there a second?
Okay.
So
You have 30
actually,
more seconds to read the
instead of
resolution.
going through all this, I'd like to cede some of my 7
Perfect.
minutes.
Okay.
Take
Let's
as
do
much
that.
time as you
Please
want.
do.
Thank you, Councilor Maynard.
Thank you, Councilor Younger.
Resolution 3375, the pertinent section is Section 1. The City Council of the City of Bremerton affirms the city's commitment to supporting community partners in the development of a hybrid, low-barrier, walk-up congregate and pallet shelter as outlined in their January 10th, 2024 presentation to the City Council, with the intent of contributing $1.3 million from the 2024 City of Bremerton budget to the project via a funding agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. That was roughly 30 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you,
Council-
everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you coming here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Younger.
Thank you. So, for the purposes of the public's discussion tonight, when you come to the podium, express your opinion. I suggest that the original proposal, the first resolution, the mayor's resolution, the administrator's resolution, please refer that as option A. The second resolution, the hybrid option, let's call that option B. The option that I'm going to provide for you to consider, or to give comment on, actually for the council to consider, is called option C. Option C leaves open option A and B. Why are you doing that, Eric? The reason is I've heard both presentations as these have evolved. And I want to state on the record that I would prefer option B. I said that last week. If we could identify an entity in this task force that will take the lead and say, yes, I'm going to run this program. Right now, there's too many unknowns. Is it the Bremerton Housing Authority? Because if it is, if you council members, if you've read your emails, there's question whether they even have legal authority to do so. So I stated last week that I would prefer the Bremerton Housing Authority be the lead on this as the city of Bremerton's lead for low-income housing. So I'm all for that. The reason, in my opinion, why this is before us tonight is the administration has a deadline for securing grant funding, and that deadline is January 20th, 2024, to go in front of the state legislature and ask for additional grant money. We had some deficits identified in option A. Option B has even more holes in it as far as funding. However, I do not doubt the resolve of the entities that are here tonight and that are listed on that slide of their ability to come up with the funding. However, I feel it's irresponsible at this point in juncture to pick either option. Instead, my option C says, let's let this play out. However, we put in guardrails to prevent option A from taking over. I listened, and there's plenty of comments about not enough public input or the council not having enough control. So this option C says go ahead and pursue both options at the same time. Option B, folks can revise what they're going to do, tell me who the lead agency is, tell me that you're committed to do this, and we can go with option B at any time. In the meantime, option A can proceed in the following manner if this resolution is passed. One, the first step, and you can't go to the next 2, 3, 4, and 5 until they're finished in sequential order. Step 1, execute a contract with a consultant to complete all design and permitting for grading, utility construction, and related site improvements for the city-owned parcels immediately north of Public Works Complex at 100 Oyster Bay Avenue North. All work completed on this contract will be forward compatible with the use of this property for public works purposes. However, and I heard all this about have to be in accordance with SEPA. However, the Permitting and State Environmental Policy Act process activities will include development of the low barrier walk-up congregate shelter to evaluate feasibility of the site for that purpose, should the City Council approve the shelter development at this site in the future. 2, so that's the first step. Second, award a contract to construct all grading, utilities, and related site improvements outlined in item 1 above, which are forward compatible with the use of the property for public works purposes. 3, now at any one point in time, if the folks under option B come up with a proposal that the council says, yeah, this works, then we do it. We just drop this. In the meantime, we've got a facility, we've got $2 million, we can do the grading, we can use it for our public works annex for expanding the public works, which is what was the intended use of the property. Believe me, I don't want a homeless shelter there. I don't. I want it to be used for its intended purpose. However, I do believe that we have an obligation on this council to consider all the criteria and make an informed decision. Going with option B right now, that's not responsible in my opinion. So number 3, again, provided we haven't switched to option B, is to execute a contract with a consultant, complete all design and permitting for a low barrier walk-up shelter. And number 4 is to award a contract. So the City Council would expect updates on the status of each phase prior to proceeding to further phases, as I had mentioned. It is the intent of the City Council to review other available options as the city progresses through the development feasibility process, as I just outlined, including but not limited to the hybrid shelter option B, as proposed by the City Council study session on January 10th, 2024. That's option C.
Okay, thank you very much. And at this point in time, we're going to do some public recognition. And so what I'd like to remind folks of with public recognition is that comments should be directed to the dais and not to administration and not to staff. So with that, please feel free to line up and please provide your name for public record.
Good evening, Council. My name is Zach Mann. I suspect that you probably all recognize me by now. I'm here because I'm doing my civic duty. I did just listen to Councilperson Younger's plan for option C. I still don't think option C is a good one. It raises the question as to why it's so important to develop 100 Oyster Bay Avenue. And I don't think that you can get past the developmental stage. That property is protected. The SEPA issue has been delayed on purpose, so I just advise against that. I brought with me my 2 daughters and my lovely fiance. I want to say that the correct option is BHA's Plan B. The reason for that is that's the plan that reunites families. It's not just getting people off the street. I'm living testimony of this. I'm reunited with my family because of this. The continuum that you saw in the presentation from start to finish, I reached the other end. And I can stand up here before you today with 100% assuredness. I'm giving you my testimony. I believe in these people. I'm one of their success stories. I don't think I need to speak any longer. Vote the right choice. And I know you all know what that is. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am not as tall as Zach. I will be bringing that back to him. Okay. My name is Sarah Setti, and I would first like to thank the Salvation Army, Tony, Jill, Monica, Joe, and the Common Street organization for all they brought to the table at last week's study session. I come to you tonight a tired Bay Vista resident. Tired of this battle we were strong-armed into fighting. I use the term battle because, make no mistake, we are fighting. Fighting for our safety, our properties, our children, and the outlook for our neighborhood. Just this week, a resident in our area found 5 empty Fireball bottles in a common space and hidden in a ditch a bag full of needles. We are still struggling with the RVs and broken down cars that collect grocery carts and other filth on our streets. And due to the Kitsap rescue mission moving, we have seen an increase in transients causing mischief and asking for handouts within our neighborhood and at Winco. We already have enough battles at our front doors and do not appreciate another one being forced on us by option A. I'm also tired of hearing all I know is that we are not going back to last summer. The Salvation Army has already agreed to stay open until spring of 25, providing enough time to make the right decision instead of a decision made based on fear. That excuse of not going back to last summer is null and void, so please let's stop using it. Last week, our community agencies brought to you a beautiful Plan B, as requested. It was comprised of compassion, empathy, understanding, and human dignity, all of the same components that Common Street presented that you were all so smitten with. I pray the fact that option A is still on the table, the fact that it's still on the table is for due diligence purposes only. Because if you vote that path through, here's what we will hear. Yes, I know we were given option B that offers more case-by-case flexibility for different types of homeless. Yes, both plans have basically the same budget and open date. Yes, option B was built by a collection of agencies who are experts on the needs of homeless and who are more equipped to make these choices. But we are going with the inferior option instead. The option that forces your neighborhood into submission. The option that was not collaborative, not understanding of nearby residents, did not take into consideration its proximity to homes, schools, and playgrounds. And in my opinion, lacked transparency until receiving pushback. The option that does not cater as well to individual cases such as families, those with pets, those with past trauma. To quote a comment made by the council member last week, so I think the approach we had was, better than being on the street. If that is the standard and approach you want to continue, then so be it, go with option A. I hope you choose to raise the bar that fits everyone's needs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Kendall Ross with the Ambrose Apartments in the Bay Vista neighborhood. First, we'd like to thank the City Council again for all their time and energy spent reviewing these proposals and for your continued good questions as you work to find the best solution for everyone in Bremerton. I'm here to support the experts' proposal only because it's the only proposal that was prepared by the Human Services community that know these issues backwards and forwards. In last week's study session, Mayor Wheeler finally provided more information, but his new information raised even more questions that we feel the council should consider. The option A proposal does not require coordinated entry or any screening. By doing this, does that mean that there is no setup to help clients transition? Can anyone come and go as they please without working with a case manager? Does the mayor really have no concerns about putting this so close to a park and a school? Option A proposal has been unclear about whether it will allow children and families. Most recently, the mayor's team said they would consider it. How can the city even consider putting children in a shelter that will have no screening requirement for the other occupants? The budget for option A proposal also still lacks a lot of information. First, is the SEPA process going to be free? The budget doesn't have any line items for slope stability analysis, wetland analysis, species analysis, or transportation analysis. These expert reports are expensive. Second, last week, Option A team told us that the budget does not include the cost of building out internal structures inside the sprung shelter, which is basically a large tent. How will these inside improvements be funded? Most importantly, the council has never been given an answer about who will cover operations and maintenance costs if the shelter is to open this year. Vague statements about a variety of sources do not give the council the clarity that you have asked for. Mayor Wheeler is asking to spend $300,000 to get this started now. What happens to those funds if the legislature doesn't approve the mayor's appropriation request? What happens to the city's $300,000? Last week, we heard a clear, complete, and conscientious plan from our local human services experts. I cannot thank them enough for all the work that they very quickly put into this plan. The expert proposal prepared by the council's community partners actually considers the continuum of care and works towards a permanent solution. Option A does not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Diana Liacano. My husband and my son both served proudly in the military, as did many other of my friends and neighbors and people that are here. Of that, my home, my security, is a place that's for my child, my children, my grandchildren, my neighbors' children, and their grandchildren, as with these children here. I won't play it or fool with you or lie to you or tell you anything else, but that we need safety for the kids. That large field that we have that's a part of Plan A, that, as I said in the beginning of a very first meeting, I said, talk to me like I'm a 2-year-old. 2-year-olds need to know exactly what's going on without having someone constantly slapping their hands. You need to know, we need to know that it's okay if something goes wrong, but those that are homeless, they don't understand that what the plan is to literally throw them into a box. And then something that they've already had stolen from them, their security, removed. They don't need to have that security removed. They need to know that there's something there, which is including all the medical, anything you can think of, that should be there. And I'm asking you to choose B. Not just for me, but for my children, my grandchildren, and for the children that are sitting here. Thank you.
Thank you.
I typically have a pretty loud voice too, so I just want to make sure you can hear me. My name is Lisa, and I'm a Bremerton resident. I'm a small business owner, and I'm a nationally credentialed advocate working with survivors of domestic violence and sexual abuse for more than 25 years. I'm also a very proud mom to 3 adult children adopted from Russia when they were toddlers. I hope you'll recall my daughter Nika came to speak to you in November at a council meeting. Today, she celebrates 1 year, 4 months, I'm probably gonna cry, and 29 days in recovery from addiction. Her experience as a previously unhoused Bremerton resident weighs heavily on me. And I share this background with you to help frame my comments, both as a mom and as a social service professional. The Salvation Army was a lifeline to my daughter, and I honestly don't know if she would have made it through it without their support and their help, and I am forever grateful. However, I spent nearly 2 of the most difficult years of my life driving the streets of Bremerton, looking for her, offering her food, hope, and support, a ride to the hospital for treatment, a tent so she could stay out of the elements, sun and rain. And a couple of things came more clear to me. Services are available, but she has to want them. But before she could want services, she had to feel safe. Her experiences in Bremerton's congregate shelter were not safe emotionally and not safe physically. And this is in no way a reflection on the staff or volunteers of the Salvation Army, because I do believe she's here because of what they were able to do for her. It's more a reflection on a one-size-fits-all situation that a congregate shelter system has, that there's no clear path forward for the next step, whatever that next step needs to be. I have more than 2 decades of experience in the social service field, and the system is still difficult for me to navigate. So if you imagine that you are unhoused and possibly living with addiction, or managing mental health issues, or sharing floor space with someone else who is experiencing those issues, you can easily see the roadblocks and difficulty accessing services is completely multiplied. My daughter said being eligible for services is one thing. Being able to access services is another. Building a large congregate shelter in Bremerton is not what our city needs. It cannot offer the next level support that will provide privacy, dignity, and opportunity to honestly address the root causes of homelessness. I ask you to vote for option B so that Bremerton can move forward and provide a tiered support system for our unhoused neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jeff Clausen. I'm a resident of Bremerton. As Councilmember Younger asked last week, should the city be in the business of owning and operating homeless shelters? The issue of unhoused citizens is, of course, a city issue, and the city has a responsibility to help address the problem. But like many issues that the city needs to address, the answers to this lie in part outside the city with the experts. The city, like all governmental agencies, has strengths and weaknesses. And all agencies look to outside experts, especially those in the community, to help address these weaknesses and to support the strengths. Where was the due diligence for this effort? Up until last week, all we had seen was a single approach with a single vendor proposed without the input of community experts. This doesn't make sense, and in my experience, this will not result in a positive solution. Last week, we heard from many of these experts, option 2, who are working together to provide an agile solution that works to address the complexities of the issues, not a one-size-fits-all solution, which is what the city is proposing in option 1. Considering the short notice given to the group, the presentation was well outlined and well presented. And I'll also add that it's the only one that proposes operational activities and costs. I urge you to thoroughly consider option 2, the nonprofit alternative presented last week. As we do with many city projects, let's collaborate with our community partners, the experts on this issue, to implement a solution that truly addresses the complex issues of our unhoused neighbors, instead of a solution that focuses on warehousing all of them in one shelter. Furthermore, as you make the important decision, Put yourself in the shoes of those struggling, this struggling segment of our community. What kind of solutions would you want available? What solutions best addresses the continuum of care, which is essential to getting people out of this desperate situation? The approach must be agile, right-sized, and adaptable, as option 2 is, and one that doesn't unfairly impact one specific neighborhood. Let this approach be a joint effort between the city, the experts, and the citizens. Thank you, City Council, and thanks to the City Administration for taking on this challenge.
Hello again.
Thank
I spoke
you.
earlier. My name is Courtney Bull. I just want to preface with I am actually a communion member. I am also the office manager at Eagles Wings Coordinated Care, which is a recent position I have taken after touring one of actually I co-own with my husband a church property in Gorst that was talked about and toured with some of our some of the housing coalition, attendees, and this kind of has become near and dear to my heart. Both me and my husband have addiction and homelessness in our family, so this is coming from a very personal level. Some of the statistics I read in the pamphlet earlier, 34% increase in homelessness in 2023 from 2022, 245 reported unsheltered, and that's reported. They believe there's a lot more to that. 75% of respondents that were asked used to have stable housing in Kitsap County. Some of the most common challenges were mental health. Eagles Wings and our partners have systems in place to address that. Chronic substance abuse, also systems in place to address that. Chronic health conditions, again, we have skilled nursing staff. Permanent disability, same thing. Some of the causes of homelessness is mental health, employment barriers, and eviction or loss of housing. Again, we have multiple areas to be able to deal with that. Many of our leaders in our partnerships have 15 or more years of experience. Eagles Wings and our community partners have served generations of these people for years and developed relationships with them. These community partners have the know-how, the experience, and the respect of not just the homeless community, but also our community partners. It's easier to be unhoused here in Bremerton than in some of the bigger cities, is what we've heard from some of the homeless community. But we have the experience to help them and move them along the continuum of care. We have transitional housings. My husband and I actually have 2 Eagles Wings houses and an Oxford house, and we plan to keep going. Eagles Wings has an 18-year relationship with Adrian Properties, who also rents to them and continues to plan to do so. I think that option B is absolutely the only way to go. I feel like there's accountability. I feel like there's, and the only issue I heard last week was that there's no fiscal management. And I think that is a very easy problem to solve. And I don't think that should be what stops us. So I appreciate your time and your consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Knoll. Before you begin, we're going to go ahead and call on, we are allowing Zoom commenters. So who do we have online? Joan? Thank you. I turned this off. Oh, perfect. Joan Hanton.
Okay. Thank you. It's a target-rich environment, so I'm going to try to dial in. I want to speak to option C. I really applaud that you're trying to respect that you gave the mayor a task and he identified a finish line and he ran for it. All I'm going to say about that is that the course changed. We live in a dynamic world. A great idea starts somewhere. I think he had a great idea. I think he started down a great path. But with anything, when you allow it to evolve, it evolves into something where the collective is much wiser than one person planning alone. And You know, I get that you want to pursue maybe two options, but if you want to build a public works building, go build a public works building. Make that a separate agenda item, figure out how you're going to fund it, move it forward on your strategic plan and go for it. But please don't use the homeless and the homeless funding that many communities are competing for as a shield to do a different project. Let's put the homeless money into the homeless. We have 40,000 people that we know are coming into the city of Bremerton in the next 3 to 5 years from the shipyard project alone. We have got to get our arms around this. Our housing is going to continue to be competitive. Our rates are going to continue to go up. We have got to figure this out. We've got the players at the table. I also want to speak to, I understand your concerns about who's going to be the fiscal agent. Please let the Bremerton Housing Authority hold their annual or their monthly meeting next Monday. They will address that issue. I am a housing commissioner. I cannot speak for BHA, but I can tell you that we are all very much in tune with the dynamics of homelessness and housing. If you'd asked us 3 years ago, we would have told you homelessness is not our issue, only housing. If you ask us today, we will tell you that housing authorities across the country are understanding now that they must become intimately involved with the homelessness problem. It is a continuum. I applaud what you did earlier with Common Streets. I don't know them, but what I saw you do there was partnership. The grassroots, the police department, Common Streets, they can get them to the door. But when they walk over the threshold, we've got to have partnership in the other half of the continuum, because otherwise you send them into a big congregate shelter, you might as well build a turnstile in the back door. They're going to get out as fast as they can. We want to keep them. We want to move them. Absolutely a small shelter. I believe in these nonprofits. I believe in their plan. I also tell you they don't come here alone. They come here with about 50 board members and commissioners that the mayor appointed and you confirmed behind them. They're talking to their boards. We know what they're doing. This is going to succeed. The community's behind it. The nonprofits are behind it. I respect everybody who's had a voice or a role in making this happen, but let's do what we all can do best together.
Thank you, Ms. Hanton. Your time is up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Bree Medley. I'm a resident of Bremerton. Good evening, council members. Thank you for the continued opportunities to speak to you on this project to date and again this evening. I would like to commend Councilmember Younger for the option C. However, I do want to talk real quickly about one thing specific to the site and utilizing it as a homeless shelter. I have previously written to the council regarding the constructability issues associated with developing the site associated with option A. I'm here now to implore you to vote for the option B, based not only on the fact that the locations they are proposing are near services specifically used to support the unhoused community, as well as near bus hubs, but also because the sites are flat and easily accessible for all persons regardless of mobility. The Oyster Bay Avenue project site is quite the opposite of those sites, and I want to focus on the fact that it massively limits access to otherwise abled persons. The unhoused community is comprised of a myriad of people with different needs and abilities, and any shelter this city is supporting must be easily accessible to all. A few baseline pieces of information associated with accessibility. Allowable slope for standard accessible routes of travel is 1 foot rise for every 20 feet of length. Ramps can be implemented with a larger slope, but only for 30 feet in distance. I say this just as reference as we discuss Oyster Bay. Oyster Bay Avenue itself, the road, is fairly steep, having an approximate slope of 1 and 18, which does not meet that accessible requirement, and it's not conducive to otherwise able people. It's nearly a half-mile trek up that hill to even get to the site, and once you get to the site, there is a large slope. I have not seen a concept grading plan presented. However, it will require serious amounts of work in order to be an accessible site. Public Works, totally different design necessary to access it. So So while it may be possible to develop the site, the amount of gymnastics available will be significant. There are numerous hurdles to overcome when it comes to this site, and even if you can get past the funding gaps, timing and permitting issues, possible appeals and litigation, you must ask yourself, is this site the best choice to serve our community? And the $2+ million required to develop it, could it be used elsewhere in a better way? This site continues to be a square peg in a round hole scenario, and I do hope City Council will look at the round hole and see that a round peg is available with option B.
Thank you.
I'm Brandon Johnson, and I live here in Bremerton. There are two things I'd like to say that I hadn't thought before. One is pay attention to what Joan said. The other thing is I noticed, well, there's several things on the option one that are contradictory or incredibly vague. One thing that jumped out at me, though, was talking about a closed campus, which, you know, they had one of those in high school, and it didn't work real well, but you got busted, and, I mean, there was all sorts of bad things if you left campus. And so it's starting to sound a little bit like a jail. Not something comfortable for people that are at risk anyhow. Okay, so unless the council has special information that isn't available to us, your constituents, it should be clear that spending on the option one plan is not fiscally responsible approach to solving our unhoused citizens crisis. It's neither fiscally responsible or socially responsible. City council members will decide on our behalf whether spending our money on a project being pushed by the city has been, it's not a good, once again, spend the money for utilities from a utilities budget, use the money that's for housing people, on housing people. It's a real moral issue too. You folks have to realize that the effect on the people, on the homeless, option one will harm people. It'll harm the neighborhood. It'll harm the individuals that are in there. It'll stifle their ability to move on. And it's clear now. You know this. You've had plenty of evidence. You've had a lot of people talk about it. It's really frustrating that, you know, this is continuing to be an issue. Option B is something that, so there's some work that needs to be done on it, but you've got professionals that know the system, that know how to work the system, willing to help work it out. And so if you don't work with them on B, you're letting down each of your constituents. You're wasting our money and you're wasting their lives. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm John Street, Bremerton city resident, long time. I work in the field on the streets in social service, as I've come up and mentioned to you all before, but for anybody else who doesn't know me. About 13 years out there housing homeless youth, adults, and seniors. And, you know, I had a really hard time figuring out what I would use my time for, which is running out quickly, but I wanted to talk to you about option A, the large shelter. And I understand where C comes from, option C. I get it. There's still some pieces to the puzzles not together. How could we say confidently today we could vote for that? Well, one thing I would say is that the large congregate shelter, from working out on the streets of Bremerton, all I can think of is all the clients that I've had over the last 13 years that have had the negative experiences and the pain and the struggles that they've gone through from their experiences at that large congregate shelter that we've operated for emergency purposes over the last few years. The choices I've made to direct people into there live with me every day. When they come out of there, like Claude Jones did 11 years ago. This young man was 23 years old when he came and started working with me, unhoused for 2 years in the city of Bremerton and all over the county of Kitsap. I helped him get into the Salvation Army shelter. He had really hard experiences there. He was offered drugs. He was pulled into attempts to traffic, and he was abused in there. And when he came out with the fear to ever go back in there again. Well, 11 years ago, on a late night in October, he froze to death a couple miles from here, behind Emmanuel Church. And that day he was in my office, and I asked him, please, tonight, it's supposed to be freezing, go into that shelter, but he couldn't. As much as he didn't want to sleep on those streets that night, he couldn't walk into that large shelter because the abuse that he takes in that kind of environment. I'll never forget that young man. This is his face right here. Today, flash forward 2024, I'm carrying a large caseload of the same thing today. I've got seniors and adults right now in their cars scattered across this community that I'll probably check on tonight. And they refuse to go into that congregate shelter tonight because of the pain and the struggle that goes on in there. And I asked the staff, verify this, is this true? And all that can be said is that we can't control this type of environment in this large type of shelter. And I just want to make sure that point is clear when we take this vote tonight. And I appreciate all of you. Thank you very much for my time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Melissa, and I am a resident in Bay Vista. I also work at Winco, and I'm not speaking on behalf of Winco, just my personal experience. I have been homeless in a trailer with my kids. If it wasn't for emergency housing, and yeah, it's really hard to go from there to where I am, but if you put in enough effort and fight, then I mean you can get there. And it's taken a while, but I'm happy with where I'm at. I organize neighborhood cleanups with kids in the neighborhood. It's sad to say that due to the growing manifestation of unwelcome people in our immediate area, I have to walk all of the kids to the bus stop every single day. Middle school, high school, elementary school, pick them up, drop them off. It's sad. I shouldn't have to do that. I get harassed just walking behind my house to work every day. My daughter, my kids can't walk to the store by themselves. It's super sad. There's a known sex offender that just hangs out at stop sign at Winco. And I mean, that's just one. God only knows how many there's gonna be. This is just, I mean, why wouldn't we take things like this into consideration? I mean, if there's gonna be some sort of documentation, is there gonna be a specific spot that people that are sex offenders are gonna be at? I don't mind a shelter in option A of maybe women and children families, but not just wide open, come as you please, go as you please. That's not safe to our neighborhoods, and that's our home. It's our job to keep it safe, and this is your guys' city. I would hope you'd want to keep it safe too.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I live in Bremerton. I've been homeless. I've been an addict. I've been on the streets with my children. But like Melissa said, you know, there is emergency housing and stuff. You have to put your effort in and your time and stuff. You have to look at it like it's a job for your kids and for you. I know it's sad because, excuse me, I do live in Bay Vista. I don't let my 13-year-old daughter outside because of I have a fear of her being touched inappropriately or anything like that, or being harassed. I would hope that you would feel the same way about your children or grandchildren. Like, I just found out I'm going to be a grandma, and our kids are our future, and if we can't protect our children now, then what is our future going to look like?
Thank you.
Joe Walter. I'm sorry I can't support option C. My concern is that how hard will it be for the folks who'll work on option B to really throw their heart and soul in this when they don't know? It's too much to ask, I think, for everybody to go to work and not know what the end result is going to be. And I'm also so disappointed that, again, we're having one of these issues that feels divisive. Why do we have the administration versus our community service leaders? Once upon a time, there was a trend in the council that I didn't always agree with, that we tried to avoid this. And I don't know, I mean, giving people an opportunity to eat their popcorn at home and sit back and enjoy the show, it's not fun, it's really hard, and I think we can do better.
Thank you.
Alexis Castellano. I live in Bay Vista, and I would say the majority of the Bay Vista community do not approve of the shelter at Oyster Bay. I do not feel safe. Our community does not feel safe and will not feel safe with it there. Oyster Bay is right on Kitsap Way, where there have been multiple vehicle and pedestrian accidents and death. This shelter will create high-volume foot traffic that will be a liability for the people in the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Kale Nainoa Asatista, and I'm here for option B. Option A, I hear it, but the heart has to be consistent, and I haven't seen consistency, so I have to go with option B. So that's what I'm going with. Thank you.
Thank you. And we need to go online, don't we? We have a couple of comments online. Fantastic. So next up, we have Christy Lyson, and then we'll have Jalissa Alari after that.
Hi, thank you. I am just going to say, instead of regurgitating all the fine points that have been made by so many community members already, I am in support of option B. We need multiple options for our homeless individuals in our community. They're not a monolith. They have unique needs, and we need, a variety of options to temporarily house them and also move them on to more permanent housing options, and also resolve the issues that are barriers to them attaining and keeping permanent housing. I also just want to say thank you to Joan for bringing up the point that is very salient, in that if you want a public works building, use public works funds. Don't use the very few funds that are available and earmarked for serving our homeless community to develop a property as a public health, to later house a public works building. It feels like, I'm not sure the right bait and switch, I don't know. It's felt like that since the beginning. Also, I wanted to say that the consulting firm that the mayor hired to promote option A, it was very clear that they started of like, this is where we want to land. And so all of our arguments are going to be geared toward that. It was a lot of spin and selective information that was included that you did not have to do more than a cursory review of to find the flaws in. And they talked a lot about not stigmatizing the homeless, and then they called people who quote unquote choose not to use the shelters, they called them criminal vagrants. And if that's not stigmatizing the homeless, I don't know what is. So I don't have any respect for that consulting firm and the conclusions they made. Thank you very much for listening.
And next up online, we have Jalissa Alari. Can I see that name again so I make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly? If I mispronounced it, please let me know, Ms. Alari. Are you still muted? Okay, if you're available to speak, please unmute. Going once, going twice. Okay, we'll circle back if the hand is still raised after the next 3 public comments. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Julie Graves, and as I said earlier, I live in District 1. I've been working in affordable housing in this community since 1994. I started my work at Kitsap Mental Health, doing development of one house at a time for clients to live in roommate situations. I then went to what was at that time Kitsap County Consolidated Housing Authority, was the project manager of several of their new construction projects, and have continued to work in the industry. When I think about why we have homeless people, a lot of it is due to housing affordability. People can't afford to stay in their homes. When the rent goes up by $100 a month, we see a 15% increase in homelessness. And so one of the things that I think is a really good solution is pallet housing, because it can be done so quickly and relatively inexpensively. It costs, I don't even know now, $300,000, $400,000 per unit to bring on an affordable housing unit, because affordable housing is more expensive to create here in the state of Washington than regular housing. So pallet shelter is a great alternative. We also have this amazing team behind it. Kitsap Mental Health and BHA are already successfully partnering at Pendleton Place, serving 72 households. We, though, we're not meeting the need. The need is overwhelming. I was sitting next to a woman earlier tonight who asked me, where are all these homeless people coming from? They're coming from our community, and they're homeless because they can't afford our housing prices. Whether they're elderly and on Social Security, or they're working jobs that don't pay enough, or they don't get enough hours. One of the things I really want to leave you with, when I started working in this industry in 1994 as a young woman, I thought we would solve homelessness during my career. I can't tell you how disappointed I am in myself and in the affordable housing community, but it's not our fault. So the last thing I want to leave you with is that people who are homeless, they are suffering. Whether they're suffering from an addiction or a mental illness or just from being homeless. So let's please put an end to that suffering and give them homes where they can close a door and feel safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Councilman. My name is Elena.
Hold on just one moment. Can we start over? But Elena, can you move the, yeah. Okay, can we start her clock over, please?
Good evening. My name is Elena Castellano. I've spoke to you guys before. I'm a member of the Bay Vista community, and I really like option B. I think it's very dignified for our homeless, and I feel like it's a safe option for our community. I don't feel like we should be rushing just because on the 20th of this month, we have to make a decision. I think it should be informed, and I really do believe and trust in our local professionals, and I think that BAH can handle what they're putting out because they've housed so many people, including me and my family. Half of our family have been helped through these community services. Again, we would not feel safe having a shelter so close to our children. I would feel irresponsible as a mother if I didn't come up here and talk to you guys heart to heart and address it. And I just feel like it's being rushed. And again, the cost is a big issue to us taxpayers. We don't consent to spending money on something that is going to be temporary and inhumane. I mean, most people don't want to be shoved in a building with hundreds of other people, especially families. So I hope you guys do weigh option B, because I think it's a good option. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joey Hayes. I don't necessarily have a ton to add to the conversation, but I think we should definitely go with option B. It gives more dignity. It provides that transitional. Nobody should be living in a congregate shelter for months and months and months and months. It should be low barrier, walk up, we house you right now, and then we should be moving them on to something else. Because human dignity, it's just not a comfortable, safe feeling way to live. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Molly Brooks. I strongly agree with option B. I've lived in group housing, and the only thing that made it bearable was that I had my own room with my own door, my own lock, my own key. I wouldn't want anyone to be stuck living in a congregate setting for an ongoing period of time. It's not dignified, it's overwhelming, it's, honestly a sensory assault. But to be around so many people all the time and have no privacy and nowhere to go. So just as someone who's, like I said, lived in group housing, I strongly agree with option B. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Should we go back to Jalissa Alari?
Hi, I'm sorry, I couldn't get to my microphone fast enough. I had to adjust it in my settings.
Okay.
But
before you start, I want to make sure that, and I didn't do housekeeping with somebody else online, are you able to see our podium from where you're at?
I am.
Okay, so, and you know the light system?
No, I'm sorry.
No problem. So the green light is when your time starts. The center light is when you have 30 seconds left, and the red light is when I'm going to cut you off, because that's my job.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, Ms. Alari, you're up.
Hi, yes, I appreciate you guys unmuting the Zoom, as I am a California resident, so I'm back in California on vacation. But I really wanted to speak on the fact that for the mayor's first presentation for his homeless shelter, which was pretty much, the sales pitch, he used San Francisco as a reference as to how there wasn't an increase or decrease, or didn't affect the community around the homeless shelters in San Francisco. And I find that ironic, because as a resident of California, we all know that Bay Area is very, very bad. People don't even lock their cars because there's that much crime. So of course it wasn't going to affect the crime rate, as the crime rate was already high. So I thought that was interesting. Also, I am also in support of option B. It's what your city wants, it's what the community wants, it's what the professionals are voting for. And you have due diligence to the city and its people want option B. I mean, I don't see any other way of how you would go with option A, other than, frankly, I hate the word, but corruption at this point. The professionals have spoken, your citizens have spoken, and yeah, it's just time for option B. I find it ironic that the mayor is ex-military, as in the community of Bay Vista is a lot of military who are armed and ready to protect their homes and their families using deadly force or whatever by means necessary. And I just find that to be an upcoming problem where good people are going to get hurt. We don't want that. This has already spread into our military community. All my neighbors that I love are moving away as they are renting in there. And military families have enough to deal with already. And I shouldn't have to be worrying if this is going to affect my children. I am a child, where I grew up, a homeless shelter was around our neighborhood, and I constantly had to look to not step on human feces, had to constantly avoid them because a lot of them would show their genitalia to us high school girls because my high school was also in the neighborhood. But I don't know what else to say other than please choose option B for your community. You have a lot of military people coming in with this remodeling of the shipyard. And I would hate to see you guys lose families that would love to be in Bremerton but won't be in Bremerton because of this issue. Like I said, it has already spread within our military community and people are staying away from Bremerton. And I honestly love Bremerton and I would love to stay there.
Thank you, Ms. Alari. Looks like we're doing a mic switch here. Our IT's working overtime, keeping that charged. Thank you very much, IT. You're up. Thank you, sir.
Council members, I'd like to start by thanking you and the mayor for your diligence and work on all of these shelter proposals. My name is Josh Friedman, and I represent the owners of the Ambrose Apartments. In addition to the workforce housing that the Ambrose ownership is building and managing in Bremerton and around the peninsula, this team has owned and managed thousands of affordable housing and workforce housing units and worked very closely with housing authorities and partner agencies just like St. Vincent de Paul, Kitsap Mental Health Services, Kitsap Community Resources, and Bremerton Housing Authority. That's one of the reasons it was so encouraging to hear the hybrid proposal that they delivered to you. These are the experts we have been waiting to hear from. Their comprehensive proposal is located near services, near St. Vincent de Paul, Goodwill, mental health, and transportation. As they explained, their proposal will provide the continuum of care that is needed to help unsheltered people find permanent and stable homes. The role of vouchers in their program is especially promising. Unfortunately, the Oyster Bay Sprung Shelter proposal is not set up to make use of these use of these vouchers, which is a resource that the city already has. The council should also ask, when the administration says it will clear cut and grade on this public land not more than is necessary, what does that mean? The council should be sure that it will have the chance to evaluate the proposal in detail and weigh in before the chainsaws and bulldozers come out. These complicated parcels not only have steep slopes and wetlands, but also water and mountain views. The council should consider whether this clear-cut, large parking lot and indefinite sprung shelter is the best use of the city's limited resources, especially given that the sprung shelter proposal was explicitly offered without an end date in sight. The council should jump at the opportunity to listen to the experts and accept the experts' offer of help, rather than rushing to enter the business of developing and having the city take fiscal responsibility for the operations and maintenance of a human services complex. To best manage the city's risk, the council should support a homeless program, but should think very carefully about the risk that is involved with owning a shelter or even the land that it sits on. This could become a huge financial liability for the city without any end date in sight. Thank you, council and mayor, for your hard work and careful thought on these difficult problems. Your human services partners and the broader Bremerton community are anxious to see what you will decide. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have another commenter online. Okay. Angie?
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Angie?
Can you hear me?
Yes, and can you see our lights from where
the light system? Yeah, I see it.
Great. So did you hear the description about the timing system earlier?
I did, and it's actually nice that it's there. Thank you.
Okay. You did. You said you did, right?
I did.
Okay, thank you. All right, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So I have to alliterate here. So as a person who moved from Pierce County to Bremerton without anywhere to go, there is a shelter actually in Bay Vista's area within 2 miles. There's also a drug and alcohol treatment center within 2 miles of Bay Vista. Both I utilized for my services for me and my family. I have to agree that sometimes I choose not to put my kids in a shelter because of the damage that I've seen from volunteering in shelters and also helping run shelters. The concern I have is for the safety. And what I mean by safety is we have oh my goodness, Salvation Army, but we also have the rescue mission that also was a walk-in shelter where anybody could just go in and just stay away from or stay out of the cold. And as somebody who's also volunteered there, there was also a lot of police engagement at the same time to making sure that the safety for the children and the safety of the people there was adamant. And not every, yes, people need to be monitored, just like I myself and those individuals here sitting in the boxes in front of me. We all need to be accountable for the crimes that we've done and and make sure that everybody's doing what they need to do. So my question to the city and to everybody else is, while we're partnering, are we also partnering to make sure that everybody's liable on what they're doing, that everybody's not being forced into services that they don't want to go into? Are they being asked to? And I mean, I've got my own life situation going on, and I'm an advocate for so many things right now. Common Streets was great. I had a huge hiccup with the wording on CPS when it should be DCYF, because you're going to get families wanting to run and versus offering services. So I applaud everybody for what they're doing, but I also want to make sure that we have the safety and security for all the children and the families, women and children too. And yes, there is going to be those individuals with higher criminal records, but is the monitoring going to be available? That's my biggest concern. Is the city willing to have the police department monitoring so that everybody feels safe? It's not just a one-size box, and it's not just military. We're also civilians out here too, coming to a whole new life. So that's my biggest concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie.
Maybe I'll be the last one. Let's see.
You just jinxed us.
No, I shouldn't have said it out loud.
Oh,
Sorry,
good.
sorry.
We have no, we want to hear everybody.
Okay.
Yes,
My name is Amy Waterman. I'm a resident of Bremerton. A little background. I moved here about 1.5 years ago. I love Bremerton. It's amazing. Every single day there's something wonderful I find out about it. We're so fortunate, my husband and I, to live here. We lived in San Diego, and I think that's important to say. We lived in the city. Their last homeless count was 60,000. Their poor mayor is dealing with a $66 million deficit as to how they're going to house the unhoused in that city. It was a part of our daily life. Moving here about 1 year ago, I became aware of the situation here, and I will say that it has been an education for me into the complexities of how you provide services for the unhoused. And what I'd like to ask you to do is pivot. I am so grateful for what the mayor and his team have done. They stepped up and they said, we're going to look for a solution. We're going to figure this out. I think what we have all discovered in this process is how complicated it is. And we now have something in option B, which from my perspective, we have taken what the mayor has begun and we have involved it into something that may actually have some incredible impact for the city of Bremerton and could possibly be a model for other cities in Washington and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, City Council. My name is Joseph Crane. I'm the Executive Director at St. Vincent de Paul. And I just want to encourage you to consider an option A. There's discussion of working with the operational experts. Well, the operational experts are telling you what the solution needs to be for our city, for our community, for the collaboration, and for us working together to get funding. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for hearing us tonight. I'm Jill Stanton with the Bremerton Housing Authority, and last week, Councilmember Younger brought up BHA as an option to be the lead or the fiscal agent, and I immediately brought it up with my board chair, and we will be discussing it at our next board meeting next week. We do need legal advice. This is a new concept for BHA, and so, we can't commit without that legal advice and understanding how something like this would need to be structured. I've already reached out to our legal counsel to get that information, which the board will ask of me. But I also want to make it clear that option B, the city can be the lead on that. It doesn't have to be somebody else. We're all still going to need to work together. If it's determined and we agree and we work with the mayor on this, that BHA really is the appropriate entity and we can structure it in a way that protects BHA, because BHA cannot fail in this community. BHA is always going to do our part. We're always going to do our best. We're the city's housing authority. What I think the decision here tonight is, what is the best shelter for this community? Everything else after that can be figured out. We've worked together for a lot of years. We're going to continue to work together. But the option is what shelters the best shelter for this community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, it's me. It's me again.
Council
Diana
President,
Liacano.
I believe she already spoke.
Huh?
Did you?
For this. Was that for this one?
I did.
She spoke on a different issue. Can you tell me your, we got her clock off, right?
Diana.
What was your name?
Diana Liacano.
Okay. And you spoke previously on the anti-Semitism resolution. She has not spoken on this issue yet. Oh, okay, hold on a minute. I'm going to check my notes.
I spoke just a little while ago. If it's okay for me not to speak, it's okay.
Oh, okay.
Seat. I was a chicken earlier, and I just wanted to be able to get what I wanted to say.
Have you already spoken about the housing shelter options?
Right. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. You have already had your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, parliamentarian, and thank you very much for understanding.
Hey, you
Hello.
guys. My name is Tony Ives. I'm the executive director of KCR. I'm proud to have some folks from my team here and folks that we work together with every day. And you guys, I talk to you guys almost every day. You know that. So I want to say thank you. Thank you for the support, and just thank you for listening. All we were trying to do was provide another option. And if it seemed like we were late to the table, we were working pretty hard on this, and we all have our own jobs as well. A lot of this started with the Housing Affordable Task Force, and someone mentioned, PSNS, and boy, we've talked to them too. We talked to everybody about housing, about the need in the continuum of care for housing, from the bottom all the way up to some experiences that people already mentioned here, coming out of a bad situation. So the thing that flows through our heads these days is, do the easy thing or do the right thing. And we said this to each other because sometimes we get really depressed about this. It's not easy. And again, we have our own jobs. But I just want to say we've worked collaboratively together in this community, but around the state. It's amazing. Even up in Everett, the Vancouver Housing Authority, who kind of started on this path initially, I got a call. Somebody mentioned the Bay Area in San Francisco. Boy, the last 2 weeks, there's one large city in the Bay Area that's been reaching out to us because they hear what we're doing. They actually even sent me a picture with their pricing for the pallet models. I said, hey, easy, negotiate better, right? But my point is, we can be that model, and it's very interesting that other folks are trying to reach out to Kitsap County, for God's sakes, to Bremerton, to exchange ideas. We can be one of the models. At this point, everyone's looking for innovation, not going backwards, but going forward. And as Monica from KMH wants to remind me, that Sprung Shelter, they thought of that years ago, and here we are in 2024 thinking about it again. We're going to make mistakes. We are. I make mistakes every day. I make mistakes in my own job, as Mr. Hurley likes to remind me of today. But we're united, and we're here to serve, just as everyone is, including Mayor. We're here to serve. So, we'll take the best selection, and we'll work with whatever you decide ultimately. Okay? Thank you. And thank you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Ives.
Roy Runyon, Bremerton. First of all, I want to just commend Councilmember Younger for offering a third option, a conditional option, I guess. It's a nice idea to put competition into government, but it often doesn't work. I mean, come on, we've been around long enough to know it doesn't work. You're going to have to put pressure on folks and organizations to make things happen. I want to commend Councilmember Coughlin for his leadership, where he saw some vacuum, if you will, as far as getting the information and exploring all the options. He stepped up to the plate, and I appreciate that. I prefer the resolution B for best or better, to actually be more direct and direct the administration to actually engage the partners. So that's my wording. That's what I suggested in that email that I sent last week. Harassed you with all those emails. And thanks to the staff for responding to some of those. I'm going to give you a model. The YMCA building or operation here in East Bremerton is a model that I suggested. I was the chair of the Finance Committee on the council. We were facing major financial problems, like oftentimes we do. And I suggested we turn over management and operation of that facility to another organization that is really dedicated to providing those types of services. And so we found a partner in the YMCA, and it works really well. We provide the facility, the grounds, we put some capital into it, and they do the operations and maintenance. Or the operations at least. So they're so much better at it than the city of Bremerton. So that's the model. So I see city of Bremerton providing some capital funds, and then we have a partner or partners that actually operate the shelter. We should not be in the business of doing a homeless shelter. So city of Bremerton, capital, partners, operations. Option B is the one to vote for. It's the best one, option B. Easy to remember. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name's Chelsea.
There you go.
I currently work in housing. I've lived in Bremerton my whole life. And I just want to say, as somebody who works in housing, if you've ever been to any training in regards to housing, because I do work with the homeless population, all of it is evidence-based. So I understand that these models are newer and an interesting thing, but it's not, I don't believe, coming out of nowhere. They really make sure that they're, not wasting anybody's money. It's all based on what we have seen to be effective. So again, if you were to go with option A, they are going to be turning around back to our experts and saying, well, what do we do? And we can be looking at them and tell them, well, based on evidence, this is how you're going to handle that situation. So I feel like going with anything besides option B is just going to lead you back to overburdening option B with option A, stumbling through it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Hi, my name is Michelle, and I'm a citizen of the city of Bremerton, and also involved in social services in this county. And I started my journey in social services in AmeriCorps way back in 2007, where Russ Donahue introduced us to civic engagement. And here we are. We're empowered. And there's a lot of my partners in the field of social services that are out here grinding, trying to make a difference. Stuff that we were taught when we were doing national community service, which fast forwards me to what I've learned is sometimes the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. And it's okay, right? Because we're all focused on what our agenda is and our job details and whatnot. So we are this big, huge entity of people trying to find a solution to something so severe. What I do know is that there's the Washington Alliance Quality Recovery Residency called WACR that put in a new law with National Alliance Recovery Residents bill that was passed. It's a law that was effective January 1st of last year, 2023, which I alignment with the executive director and one of the founders of that, and they're constantly asking us for suggestions. So kudos to Kitsap County and Bremerton, because at a state level, international level, we are looked at as the model and the type of services that we provide. Other cities and counties aren't figuring it out as easy as this community has figured it out. So I know I'm nobody special, not very important, but what I do know is that the people that I know that are in charge of Plan B, they've been collecting the data and they've been changing the game, and they know the right choices and they know their populations that they're serving. And as a citizen of Bremerton, I'm proud to be in the social service arena. I vote for option B. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Lou Long, longtime resident of Bremerton. After hearing all the presentations and not looking at the plans in detail or anything, it does appear to me that Plan B or Option B sounds a lot more reasonable. I can't imagine 100 beds in one warehouse. I don't know what the size of the little cubicle that you're giving them in that warehouse, but 100 people of all different kinds of situations, I just don't think that could possibly work. And I think that having a outside firm or somebody that's familiar with coordinating all of the agencies to help people and is dedicated to that one purpose is a way to go, rather than having the city operating it. That's my piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any other member of the public wish to comment on this item?
Hi, I'm Mike Simpson, District 6. I live in the district that this is proposed to go in, and I'm opposed to having a shelter there. That's the bottom line. But since the council will callously disregard my remarks, I would suggest that they will go with option C, which proceeds with options. Now, option A I discount because it's a camp, and you're going to concentrate people in it. And in light of the pairing of the previous things that have been on the agenda, where we passed a resolution against anti-Semitism, the idea that we would put a camp somewhere and concentrate people into it is appalling, especially in our city. We're better than that. And part of the reason why we should not build a camp in our city is because this very issue of whether people can sleep on our streets in the public thoroughfare is in front of the Supreme Court right now. They're going to do oral arguments on it this year. They will make a decision on whether cities have due diligence to have to provide anything for people living in our public areas. And I think it would not be the due diligence that's required of our elected officials to wait and weigh in on the decision once it is made. Thank you.
Thank you. So So I am unsure, Mayor Wheeler, if you are a member of the public in this context. So I need to convert because this is public comment time. So I want to, can you please hold on just a moment, sir? Is the mayor considered a member of the public, or is he considered a presenter in this context? Because this is public comment.
In my defense, the option A presenters got to speak.
That is true. You're right. Okay, so let's go for it then. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate our esteemed partners from presenting option B. I do just want to make sure I get a chance to take us back to the summer of 2023, when we were in out-and-out crisis. Our room was filled all summer long with hundreds of individuals as you were discussing the camping ordinance. The one thing that we heard over and over, unanimously across all of the parts of our city, was we did not want unregulated campgrounds in our public areas. And so I have not heard tonight, and it's not like I expected to, a public safety component to why we, the city, even got involved in the shelter business. This is not something that any of us has ever signed up to do. Public safety is something we've signed up to do. We lost public safety and community well-being and neighborhood well-being this summer. Our goal now as an administration is to never, ever go back. So we took a laser focus to bring to you today this project to ensure that does not happen. We never claimed we were going to solve homelessness with this. We never precluded any other partner stepping up and being a part of the solution and offering pallet community, permanent supportive housing, transitional housing, being a part of the continuum. We just said we are going to get in here at the base level and ensure that we never ever have the anarchy and the chaotic environment that we had this last summer. So that's what we're presenting to you tonight. And I wanted to make sure you've heard enough, you've got all the information you need. I just wanted to take you back just for a minute what it was like when our neighbors and our citizens were desperate for us to do something. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so those hands either mean that there's a goal or we have somebody online for comment. So it looks like we have Erica Miller-Brenner.
Hello?
Hello, can you see the lights on the podium? Ms. Miller-Brenner, can you hear me okay? Hello? Did I say the last name right?
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Great. Can you see the lights on the podium?
I can.
Perfect. So the green light means go, and the floor is yours, Ms. Miller-Brennan.
Okay, so I'm not good at public speaking, but I just wanted to throw some things out there. As a single mother that has gone through homelessness myself with my son, KCR actually has helped me over the last few years, and I'm in stable housing because of them now. They are very good at what they do, and they work with the community and all the entities that you guys are talking about to make sure that things actually happen. Chelsea that spoke up, that's my case manager. She's awesome. But option one, if you guys really want to consider option one, I think all of the city council members and the mayor should take 15 days and go spend 15 days in a shelter setting like that yourself. So you can truly understand and experience what that is like. I've been there with my son, and it's traumatizing. It truly is. And it's not a place to put people that are already in vulnerable positions in a worse setting. Not to mention with it being an open policy place, the amount of chaos you're going to bring into the community in a worse way is just, it sounds like the worst idea I've ever heard. Also, as far as permitting goes, I know a lot about Kitsap permitting, and your guys' timelines wouldn't be able to get that shelter done in time. Stormwater, ecological, geological assessments would all have to be done, and there's no way you guys would be able to get that done in time. There's a gentleman in town by the name of Kurt Russell who is fabulous at site development, and that's what he does, and I guarantee you if you were to call and ask, he could tell you in 5 minutes that it wouldn't be a possibility. Option B is definitely what you guys should be doing. Just like your last vote, you guys voted on what the community wanted. You guys really need to step up and vote on what the community is asking for. And if you really want to try and help really push to solve this, maybe the mayor needs to kind of step up and work with the community to figure out a way to do both options. Option A somewhere else though completely, but to get two facilities going at the same time so you can really combat it. So you actually put people that don't want services and stuff where they would like to be, where it's not going to disrupt society, and people that are moving forward and trying to move along in their life in a better position. That is it.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dale Sperling. I live on Bainbridge Island, but I'm a real estate investor in Bremerton with a number of workforce housing projects here in the community. First of all, I want to tip my cap to the mayor for what he did last fall to actually get that resolution passed that allowed us to actually clear MLK and Broadway. The city council and the mayor came together and got a resolution passed that prohibited camping on the streets if we had the beds available. And they were able to provide the beds in the Salvation Army. So tip of the cap first to the mayor for taking care of that. On the other hand, I think when you look at the two options that you have, if you go with option A, you're putting all of your eggs in one basket. You're talking $2 million based on the budget that they presented, $2 million just to get the site ready. That's a tremendous capital cost just to get to a site. Then you've got permitting, you've got the grading, you're going to have to negotiate a contract. There are multiple sites all over Bremerton that are flat, that are paved or graveled, that are ready to go today. You could do something, take that same $2 million and put it into the solution with option B. And in that case, you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. You're using the continuum that they talk about. You've got a whole team that's ready to go with multiple players that have multiple skills. Option B, to my mind, is so much less risky and so much better than option A that it's in a world full of bad ideas, option A, to me, takes the cake. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any other member of the public wish to comment on this item? Going once, going twice. Okay. Seeing none, I'll close public comment and ask councilors, do you want to take a quick 4-minute break?
Yes.
Okay, I'm hearing yes. So let's take a quick 4-minute break. We're going to be back here at 10:37.
Recording stopped.
Thank you to the members of public for your comments.
Recording in progress.
I call the meeting back to order, and we have a quorum. So public comment is closed, and I'll entertain a motion. Yes, Councilor Coughlin.
Thank you, President Chamberlain.
I move to approve resolution number 3375 to affirm the city's commitment to supporting community partners in the development of a hybrid low-barrier walk-up congregate and pallet shelter.
Second the motion.
Okay, and we have a motion and a second, and we are open for discussion. Councillor Coughlin.
Excellent. Thank you, President. I want to start by thanking, everybody in this room and outside this room, mayor, staff, community organizations, individuals. It's been such hard work on this, and I'm glad we do have multiple options. And I want to highlight, I'm glad we're not talking about shelter versus no shelter. We're talking about what type of shelter, where, and how. And so I just want to take a moment to really appreciate and celebrate that. And recognize that it is, unfortunate that cities are having to address this regional, state, and national issue. I think everybody in this room shares some really similar values. We don't want anyone to be homeless without adequate shelter. We don't want folks having to live in unregulated tent encampments and suffer in those conditions. We don't want unregulated encampments in front of our streets and businesses and the effects that brings to the community. And we really want folks to have shelter and a pathway out of homelessness to get the help and assistance that they need. So those are the values. And looking at the options before us, going to put on my scientist and certified project manager hat. Some projects, I think, you tackle are really straightforward. You can see the end result, you can plan every step several years in the future and follow it along. Other projects are rapidly changing based on circumstances and feedback. And it's okay to change course on those projects. And I think that's where we're at, and it's okay to change course. And I want to go through, kind of did a study session on the comparisons between the options A and B here. No site's going to be perfect. There's always going to be some level of housing nearby. But for folks that haven't really been out to the Oyster Bay area, I want to show this is a picture I took in the parking lot. To the left is the housing. Straight ahead is the proposed development area. And when you turn to the left, this is directly across the street. I know this level of housing wasn't necessarily here 5 years ago, but it is quite enormous now. And so I know when the community members speak up with concerns, that's what they're talking about. That level of housing is directly across the street. Now, we've heard the feedback from the community on the Oyster Bay site. I have significant concerns about going forward with that site. And so while I do really appreciate Councilmember Younger throwing a third option in there, I think it's going to be an incredible uphill battle to get anything done at this site. And I think we kind of need to let it go and move forward with the other options. It's pretty clear the community doesn't want it. As far as sites for the hybrid option, I know there's several sites being looked at that can minimize cost and community impact. It's not limited to a site of 1 acre in the search. And again, there's multiple options, but this is a location at the Swing Set Mall on Wheaton Way. This is one of the options being looked at. You can tell there's already existing fencing around the area. That's from one side, and thank you so much, Councilmember Fry. This is another view showing the existing fence in the very large parking lot and the standalone structure. There is not very much housing directly in this area. The only housing that's nearby is next to it is Mills Crossing, which KCR already owns as an affordable housing project. It's also right near Main Transit Center, about a block away to a main bus stop center. And again, it's a little more isolated. It's also near Goodwill and other community organizations that folks can walk to. And really looking at the building, I know folks got to tour the inside. So there's one half that's unfinished. There's another half that is basically finished like this. It has a new roof, HVAC, lighting in it. It's basically ready to go. It has office space and bathrooms as well. And so when you look at that, if you're able to move into that building, in an incredibly short time, you could get set up with beds and services. For the cost comparison, I'm seeing $6 million for sprung shelter at Oyster Bay just for construction. For the hybrid option, possibly as cheap. If you go with the leasing option, as cheap as $1 million just for congregate alone to start. $3 million with congregate and pallets with the lease. And if you buy that whole, for example, this particular option, if you buy that whole building, it's still the same price or cheaper than Oyster Bay. And as far as cost comparisons go, both are going to have operations costs, staffing costs, long-term costs. I'm looking at the hybrid option as the only one that really actually details those costs out in comparison. When we talk about the type, again, I think we've heard in the public, one size fits all. For the one single congregate shelter, you can add some cubicles and some dividers and divisions, but it still is a big single room. Whereas the hybrid model really does suit that variety of needs with a combination of congregate and pallets. And I want to be clear, if option B here had only pallets and there was no low barrier congregate shelter, I couldn't support it, because I think having some low barrier congregate shelter is a critical part. But to be clear, this is a hybrid model. This is really the best of both worlds, and that's what I'm seeing. For the size, again, there's multiple options with the hybrid. This one swing set mall location has 18,000 square feet of interior space. Compare that to 9,000 for the sprung shelter, so it could actually be twice as large. As far as the timelines, I think for the full build out of both, it's similar. We're looking towards the fall. But as folks said, Oyster Bay, there are possible significant delays that could occur. I really appreciate the detailed timeline for Ms. Ketter that put together, and I know she delivers other projects on time. But due to the nature of this particular project, I'm concerned about it coming on time with extra permitting and just some community opposition.
And Councilor Coughlin, just
yes.
to let you know, you're at about 6 minutes.
Perfect. I'll use up my last 4 here. So the hybrid model, again, I think it's just more flexible. We could get that congregate space, if it's already developed on the inside, for example, one location, get that congregate space open much quicker, and then work to slowly build out the pallet shelter and anything else there. And most important, I think, is the funding. Both projects are going to need additional funding. City funding is limited. Again, to ask cities to do this on their own is impossible, and I do respect the January 20th date for the legislature. But I got to be real honest and blunt. With the opposition to the Oyster Bay site, I don't think a county or state legislature is really going to want to touch that. And I think it's going to be much easier to get buy-in from the state and county on the hybrid model going forward. I'm also concerned about the burden that option A places on public works staff and the resources it takes continually versus being able to offload that to our community partners. And so, just overall, I'm just seeing this hybrid option as cheaper, faster, more nimble. I think it has the same capacity when you're talking about being able to enforce the ordinance, and that is important, but capacity shouldn't be our metric alone. I make the analogy of you could have a doctor's office that you go to that build a 100-person waiting room with a super nice fish tank and some cushy chairs, and you'd probably be sitting there for hours going, why didn't they spend their money on seeing their patients faster? And that's the analogy I think we have here with the hybrid model and the community partners alone, is that we can serve people faster. So I think this is the path for us. Obviously, it would allocate our $1.3 million in ARPA and REIT to the community proposal and affirm that the city would do everything it can going forward to work with our partners and get this done. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Vice President Mockler.
Thank you, Council President Chamberlain. I'm not going to make all the points that I have made before and that many have made before. I just did want to thank the mayor for wading through fire on Pendleton Place, for being the person who brought us together with the team in the first place, and for his concern for the public safety of the people of Bremerton. Thank you, Mayor. Councilor Younger, I applaud your statesmanship and assembling option C. But for me, the Oyster Bay site has a fatal flaw, and that is that it is temporary. When you are comparing the costs of option A and option B, or option C and option B, you are looking at something that will eventually be replaced by the expansion of the public works facility. And then where will people go? So option B is the way, and I am delighted at the opportunity to be able to speak in its favor so briefly.
Oh, and I as well. Thank you, Vice President Mockler. Councilor Robolowski.
Well, I've only been in office since December, but I've been attending every council meeting, study session for quite a while, and I've listened and participated when I was allowed in public, at public recognition, to talk about the struggles that we were going through, the council was going through when they were trying to craft an ordinance that had a lot of thought and care put behind it. And obviously we didn't make everybody happy. And then I spent some time down on the encampments trying to learn more about it. And there was severe suffering going on. And when comments are made that we should not think about what happened last summer, it was horrific what was happening to a lot of people on the street. I mean, people were dying down there. People were being trafficked down there. There were little children living in horrible conditions. And the council asked the mayor to get a solution. And at the time, the only people who were really stepping up were volunteers from Rock the Block. And people were going into their wallets every day, giving them gas money, giving them money to pay for portable toilets, to pay for all the needs that they had. I mean, there was a lot of great volunteers down there. So I'm really happy that all the service providers have been able to come up with a plan, even though it's not fully together, but I think we have time to get that together. And I do support option B, but the mayor and staff put in an incredible amount of work, and they did exactly what they were asked to, was to make sure we didn't have people living on the streets of Bremerton again. But I'm glad that we've come up with better options to look at. But you guys really need to thank the mayor and staff for all the hard work they did, because it was a lot. But I definitely am in favor of the Plan B now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rebelowski. Is Councilor Goodnow online still? Does he have his hand raised at all? I'm just checking in. Okay, Councilor Fry, Councilor Younger. Okay, Councilor Fry.
I'm a real fan of true community collaboration, and I can spot it when it's not there. And I was told over and over again that it was there, but I just wasn't feeling it. And then I started hearing from our community partners. It's hard to come away from that, you know. And just this afternoon, I saw another example. There's definitely some cognitive dissonance going on here, because to me, it's really clear. We did give direction. I do want to honor what Councilmember Goodnow said last week. Every so often, I listen to Michael, and he said, you know, they did everything that we asked them to do. And I have to recognize that we started with, you know, looking at public property that could be used and analyzing all that and getting recommendations. And so this evolved from that. Public Works Department and staff, I think, did a phenomenal job. Katie, you rock. I've always said you rock. But you put together a proposal for the mayor that really tried to include everything that, and I think it was a deep dive, you know, for staff. This isn't their wheelhouse. I don't know whether community development was in charge and at the table. I'm sure they were at the table. I personally probably would have put housing in charge of this project, but I'm worried. I don't go along with C because I quite frankly don't have the trust in the relationship between the administration and, or I should say between the mayor and our community partners, and I'd like to see that improve. But in its absence, this is our job, and I'm going to stand with the community partners every time. They are the experts. We don't need to go to a consultant that is selling sprung shelters for a living to be told how to house our homeless population. The Swing Set Mall happens to be in my district. And I'm going to switch gears because I am really excited about this and I want to put a smile back on my face. When I stand there in that parking lot at Swing Set Mall and I see a building that could be used as a hybrid congregate, family space possibly, young adult space possibly, you know, it already has a playhouse in the inside, you know, with, I mean, I could go on and sometime I probably will. But you stand there in the parking lot and you look next door at Mills Crossing and I can imagine somebody living in our shelter and looking over there at Mills Crossing and saying, that's where I'm going to live someday. And that's hope. That's hope. And then I told Jill Stanton earlier today that, hey, maybe BHA could look at that other development that's being built right adjacent to the property, and that could be first-time home ownership for some of these folks that are going through the continuum. It truly is and could be a full continuum of care right on the same site. It gives me goosebumps. I am for Plan B, always have been for Plan B. I don't see any reason to go with the Plan C because Plan A certainly hasn't worked. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Councilor Fry. Councilor Younger.
Okay, thank you. Lots of notes here. And again, for the record, I'm not opposed to Plan B. Remember, I'm the guy that said, BHA, would you guys take this over? That we shouldn't be in this business. I'm the guy that says the city of Bremerton should not be in this business, okay? For the record. However, if you don't know it, I'm a CPA. I'm a budget hawk. And not that it's bragging, it's basically says that I've been here too long. I have more years on this council than everyone else here combined, plus the guy that's attending remotely, okay? So I know a little bit about what's going on and the history of Bremerton and how people's minds work when they sit here in front of you all. And so I'm just going to point some things out, and I know I can't persuade this council based on what I'm hearing, but you need to hear some truths, or at least my opinion of what the truth is. It was mentioned that we could take the $2 million for developing the Oyster Bay site and use it elsewhere. That is false. Budgetary-wise, that's public works money, and that can't be transferred over somewhere else. So that's gone, just let you know. And then there's a question of, well, and then the other thing is that Oyster Bay facility is we already own the property, okay? And yes, we can go ahead and develop that. We can go ahead and proceed with the grading. The main reason for option C was to go ahead and not only pursue the grading, but go ahead to the legislature and said, by the way, if the council is good with this, we could go ahead and get some money for this. Option A appears is not going to be on the table, nor C, so that leaves us with B. And that's fine, but we need to go into this with open eyes and ears of what you're facing. One, City of Bremerton, or the Bremerton City Council, you do realize that you are relinquishing control. And by that I mean, again, people don't like to hear about last summer, but we all experienced last summer. And I have been steadfast saying I don't want to experience it again. we're relinquishing control to whatever this new entity looks like, whether the city of Bremerton's a partner, but nevertheless, we're going to rely on other partners to help us through this with some type of shelter facility. So you do understand that. Okay. The other thing is, with option A or B, it's projected the capital cost is going to be at least $6 million. 1.3 is coming from the city of Bremerton. That leaves 4.7 needs to come from somewhere else. We all understand that too, right? It's not coming from the city of Bremerton. We don't have those kind of resources. I think everybody on this council understands that too. And so that begs the question, if we can't get funding from Olympia, where's the money going to come from? So, interesting. Again, my preference for C. The saving grace, now I'm not trying to push everybody to C because I know you guys aren't going to vote for it, but I'm just going to state my points. The saving grace is the Supreme Court, as Mr. Runyon stated, has decided to hear the Grants Pass case. And if the Supreme Court agrees with the Grants Pass, and I believe it's the city of Los Angeles, there's a whole bunch, San Francisco, are trying to appeal this decision, then perhaps we don't have to provide low barrier shelter and still enforce our camping ordinance. But I know this council. If we don't have a low barrier shelter, you won't enforce the camping ordinance, the anti-camping ordinance. I know this council. So we're going to go back to last summer. I know this council. This is what's going to happen. So, gosh darn it. The other thing is, and with all due respect, Bay Vista residents, you did an awesome job of saying, we don't want it for reasons A and B, and I don't need to get into the reasons. But when the location of the new site is shown, you're going to hear from people from District 1 and 2, if that's where the location's going to be, and you're going to have a similar group of people here. I'm just stating the obvious, but I want you guys to understand the obvious too. We're going to relive the same experience. All right. I'm seeing a lot of shaking heads, and I'm probably up on my 7 minutes.
You're at 5:07.
Yeah, guess what? Last Wednesday, we were here until 11:30. Let's try not to do that again. It's 11:01.
I like that idea.
So I'm going to shut up. Thank you.
Councilor Goodnow? Okay.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add that hasn't already been said. And it is 2 in the morning where I am.
So, darling. Okay.
Yeah, which is why you're not getting any camera either. So.
Fair enough. He's in his jammies. We know it. Okay, thank you, Councilor Goodnow. So I'm going to be real quick. Councilor Coughlin said the community doesn't want it. Well, my district hasn't weighed in. District 2 hasn't had the opportunity to weigh in because they haven't been presented with this location. So that's categorically wrong. Vice President Mockler said this is just going to be a temporary site. Yeah, that's been my reservation too. If it's at Oyster Bay, it's going to be a temporary site. Councilor Rybalowski stated, talking about last summer, that it was rock the block. But you know what? What about last winter? What about this time last year? It was rock the block. It was Bailey Tupai. It was G2G2. It was the prayer. It was a lot. It was a group of my people that were out there. We were serving directly in the winter out there, and it was miserable. And it was damn miserable, you guys. And for those of you who have had to live on the streets, it's awful. I guess my reservation is I don't want to see this fail, and relinquishing control is hard to do. It's not as easy as a playhouse being in a building. I don't have any information about what the permitting looks like. I don't have any information. There's been no, I mean, it's costing multi-millions of dollars for the gym that was purchased out in Port Orchard. This is all the public comment. By the way, I printed out all y'all's public comment too. Your stack was about as equal as the last ordinance, and I read it all. I don't know that I have had the answers as to how this building is going to be retrofitted. According to the RCWs of Washington, there's a lot of RCWs that are out there, a lot of red tape that sometimes feels like just red tape, but also it's there to protect vulnerable people. So a lot of folks thinks it was going to be just easy to put people in that hospital up at Harrison, but there was other issues with it that precluded being able to use that as a shelter. It would have been great if we could have retrofitted, but there were issues that we kept saying over and over for that facility. So my hope is that this building can be retrofitted. You already know where the votes are going to land. I mean, it's obvious, right? But my hope is that the building can be retrofitted efficiently, fiscally. But what I do know about these community partners is they know how to make shit happen, and they made it happen with Mills Crossing, okay? And he's, you know, like, as much talk as Tony Ives talks, he walks the walk. So I'm gonna put my faith in you, because I don't want to go back down in the next winter and see everybody struggling out there, okay? So I'm gonna side with you despite my reservations, but please don't let people end up like they were last winter, okay? And there's people in the woods, people that need like more shelter, and I really wish that we could come to a resolution to have C, because it gives the option back to the city to also build a structure as well. In case something goes wrong on this end, it gives us options. And so I'm not going to hold us up any further. I call the vote. So let's do it.
Councilmember Mockler?
Yes.
Younger?
No.
Fry?
Yes.
Coughlin?
Yes.
Rebelowski?
Yes.
Goodnow?
Yes.
Chamberlain?
Yes.
Motion carries. 6 yeses, 1 no.
All right, so folks, I'm glad you're happy about this. We want to go home. So let's do council reports next up. First is Councilor Mockler. Girl, I'm going to time you. Like everybody's getting 5 minutes, okay?
I only need 2.
Everybody's getting 5 minutes.
Hey, wait a minute.
Oh, it says District 6, Anna Mockler.
What about Eric?
District 7, Eric Younger is first.
Good.
So if y'all are headed out to the lobby, please feel free to head out to the lobby to say your goodbyes, and please keep the chamber quiet. Do I got to use my gavel again? Okay, well, we're just going to give y'all 60 seconds to just relax.
It's not going to be anybody to listen to him anyway.